Hey, so we're going to start this one off just a slight bit different because I want to apologize to everybody. We haven't stopped uploading the M&T show because of anything in particular. It's because I had a ton of personal things come up all at once. They were all very little things, but they add up, so it makes it difficult to remember or uh, upload videos. So we're going to upload this one first as an apology, but it's nothing serious. Because of my job and working during the week and living in a small town, things that you need to do are only open during the week at hours that normal people would be working. So I needed to get my hair cut, which was taking far too long to get, and I had that appointment for a whole month. So that's why this week's video didn't get uploaded. And I also needed to get my car fixed, and then the week after that, or the week before that rather, I'm trying to remember what was going on. I think that was around the time that I just had a lot of little projects going on, so that's part of it. I kind of just fell behind, but I've also spent almost 13 hours and spread across multiple days making the final maps for the show that we're running currently, Ocelia. So that takes a lot of time. But I just wanted to update you guys. We haven't forgotten about the show. We actually have plenty of episodes stored. I just have not gotten around to it. So sorry about that.
I think all the hardcore viewers would forgive you for having a life.
All six people were Jones and Hard. But
Well, if I remember correctly, this is going to be a big one, so we're going to make everybody happy, I hope.
this one's going to be huge. So I guess without further ado, Trucker, do you like Star Wars episodes 1 through 6, including Rogue One?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Mayor, do you like episodes 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, and 6?
Yes, I do.
Great. Let's talk about it.
That's right. We decided that uploading them individually was not going to be worth our time, so we are indeed going to be talking about all of the good ones. I could not find a proper image that had all of them in working order that included Rogue One for whatever reason, and this also then decided to include the three that we've already talked about. That we can recap that. Trucker, what was your general consensus on episodes 7 through 9?
Ugh.
Same here. All right, that was the recap. Let's get on to the good ones. We're going to start where it should at episode 1.
Man, the movie gets a little too much hate simply because I feel people back when it aired did not, it wasn't what they were expecting it to be.
Yeah,
But any good story has to have a build up. You know what I mean? So, episode 1, in my opinion, was like one of the perfect stepping stones for the beginning of the build up for what everyone was considering the story. I say that because, who is Vader? Well, episodes 1 through 3 tell that story. And episode 1 has one of my favorite Star Wars characters, period. And I personally hate that he couldn't hang around a little more. But sometimes you got to die in order to further the plot.
yeah, Qui Gon was cool.
Yeah.
One of my
Uh,
I watched this one recently, and one of my favorite, absolute favorite things about Star Wars Episode 1 is both Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan do something in the very first 10 minutes of the movie, and then it never, ever, ever happens again in any of Star Wars. And that's when they're trying to get around the ship and they start doing that weird flash run. And then
oh
they
yeah,
they do it once and
the
it never, never
the
again.
force empowered movement.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something about force empowered movement. Uh, my biggest complaint when it comes to the actual fan base for Star Wars, and yes, I'm going to talk some mad crap on my fellows, my fellow Star Wars people.
There's nothing worse than a Star Wars fan.
Exactly. They could not get past their hatred of a character to let the story develop. And the character I'm specifically talking about is Jar Jar Binks. He was supposed to be hated. He was supposed to be disliked. He is supposed to be annoying. But everything he does is on purpose. It's a CGI character. You see him do things that normal Gungans never do, like jump 20 feet straight in the air and perform a perfect, somersault leap into the water. You never see any other Gungan do anything physical like that, ever. You see him do mind tricks all the time. I desperately wish Lucas hadn't wimped out.
Yeah, like episode 1, I also agree, way too overhated, especially in the context of what happens after. Episode 1 was perfectly fine. It was just and again, it's because it was a good stepping stone for the rest of that trilogy. They spent so much time on the trade talks, which I get why some people don't like that, but it was important. Otherwise, they wouldn't have shown it.
Yeah, okay. Spoiler alert for all the people, but Palpatine is a native to Naboo, and he wants basically to permanently stay away, and he wants power because he's a Sith. So forms a deal with some trade unions to blockade Naboo, essentially invade it. This giving him the ability to weasel his way even higher into the Senate and eventually get all the way up to, the newly created position Supreme High Chancellor. And Jar Jar essentially mind tricks the entire Senate, and you'll never be able to convince me he didn't. Because, let me run it by you this way. The Senate, as corrupt as parts of it are in the Star Wars universe, the Senate was still mostly, in league with the idea of staying a free republic, right?
Yeah.
But along comes a weird little Gungan gesticulating and speaking, and the entire Senate unanimously votes to give the chancellor basically dictatorial power. Come on.
Well, and at that point too, like he's never done anything right, but he could all of a sudden talk perfectly fine.
Granted, what I just said actually happens in episode 2, but the pattern of Jar Jar's heinous bullshittery was established in episode 1. He straight up mind tricks Qui-Gon almost immediately by convincing Qui-Gon to let him come with. By, I can get you guys out of here, and tells him about the quote unquote super secret Gungan city. Like, what normal person would immediately rat out their entire race's secret hideaway? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They said not there.
I mean, it also had some cool moments. There was some decent, decent fight scenes, especially at the end, and you finally get to see the droids. The droids were awesome. I still love the droids. And then
Roger, Roger.
you get to
All the
some,
different kinds of droids too.
yeah, you get to see almost every kind except for
Hmm.
the supers.
Yeah, you see droidicas, which are destroyers. You see the little regular. I don't remember what they're called in world, but everyone just calls them the Roger Rogers.
Yeah, I don't remember
The
what they're
the,
supposed to
the
be called.
little fellas. But I think because now I have to talk about it, and it's a legitimate concern because it's a little too messianic. I think the biggest issue that a lot of people have with episode 1 was the whole midichlorian thing. Like, George, baby, I know you want Anakin to be the chosen one so badly, but you do not have to literally will him into being through the midichlorians with some immaculate conception adjacent storytelling.
It was a weird choice.
You know, he can still be, and by he I mean Anakin can still be a virgin in the Force, but he does not have to be conceived by the Force. That's a little, like I said, it's a little messianic,
Getting a little lost in your own sauce.
and they never bring that shit up again. It never gets brought up again because I thoroughly believe Lucas heard all the criticism. Midichlorian, what now? And then he just kind of slowly swept that underneath the rug, and it never really gets mentioned again. So that that was always one of my concerns about it was, what do you mean there wasn't a dad?
Well, just like in South
Also,
Park with Cartman, pretty sure that Anakin is just his own dad.
well, what I really don't like, and this is another quote unquote complaint that bridges the gap to the Disney sequels. They did it again. They said, well, Lucas was okay with doing some conceived by the Force stuff. Well, why don't we toy around with that idea and make it even more weird by having Rey conceived by the Force, but by Palpatine? And
Yeah.
weird, but can we agree that one of the coolest parts of Episode 1 was, in fact, the Mos Espa pod race?
Yeah, that was incredible.
It, my brain makes excited noises every time I hear Anakin's pod, which is basically just I think they slightly pitched it down and then sped up F1 engine for the time because all of the all of the pods had actual like engine noises, but they wanted Anakin's to have that speed punch to it. So at the time, it was F1 and F1 was king. So they just kind of recorded an F1 engine going ham, and then they pitched it down, but then sped it up to make it sound even faster.
Well,
And it worked.
all the designs of the pods, everything about that whole sequence is just amazing. I wish it was real so we could watch it in real life. Like, it just so cool. It's even cooler when you find out that all the people that aren't like jumping up and down and hooting and hollering for the pod race are just pipettes. Little pipe cleaners.
Yep.
They're pipe
Look, there
cleaners
was
with more pipe cleaners glued to them. They're not
like,
people.
of all the things that Industrial Light and Magic was really good at, it was making miniatures of big things,
Yeah.
you know. And you don't catch it. Like, the pods go by so fast and they rack focus on the pods, so you don't really catch that, the crowd isn't really a crowd.
Well, and the sound was mixed so perfect, and especially when you have have the pods going by, you can't really tell that it's just looping the same 30 seconds of cheers.
Yeah. I do like that it was still Jabba,
Yep.
because you got to remember, from the point in time of when Leia chokes out Jabba later on in the series to then, it's only been like 60 years total, I think. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at the actual timeline, but I like that Jabba was still in charge of Tatooine, essentially.
I just like the Hutts. I wish they would have done more with them.
You have to go into the extended book universe to get more of the Hutts.
I always liked the Hutts. Yeah, and then we get introduced to Darth Maul, who was sweet. Darth Maul was really cool. Great concept, great design, great actor.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the best sequences is right after they meet him in the desert. Uh, they are trying to fly to wherever they were. I forget where they were trying to go, but all those droids kept getting shot off the ship. I like seeing the different designs of the droids, and only R2 survived.
Yeah.
I think
They
it was
had a
like,
bunch of they had a bunch of different astromechs, which is what R2 is. Um yeah, one of the best drawn out non-linear fights in Star Wars is, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon versus Maul.
yeah.
Everyone knows how that fight ends.
Which is
In
one
the
of the
movie, at least, because in the extended lore, you find out that getting cut in half isn't exactly as fatal as you might think it is.
I just love that whole sequence too, because watching Obi-Wan jump up, headbutt him, or smack him in the head with the lightsaber, and then cut him in half, and then watching him fall down that dark hole. I loved every time that they did something with a big giant open pit like that. So cool.
It's really good. It's a really good way to show scale.
Yeah.
But my complaint every time it happens is, where does that go?
Oh, that's the thing. I don't care. It can go wherever it wants. I'm just
See,
happy it's
like,
there.
the question as to where it goes is a little bit important when you're on Naboo because that's where that fight is taking place.
True, that's right.
So it's like, where does that giant hole go? We know what's close to the core. So where does that hole go? And why is it there?
Yeah, that's the one thing about Star Wars that makes absolutely zero sense is anywhere they could stick a giant hole, they put it there, and it doesn't really have a destination.
Some of them don't even have safety railings.
Yeah, that too. And it's just like infinite liminal space, and why would you put that there? Just put a tarp over it or something. Put on another floor. You spent that much on metal, but you couldn't cover up the hole. What are you doing?
And in a universe of plasteel and durasteel, you mean to tell me they don't have some kind of like super thick glass that they could have put there so nobody falls in, or at least a safety railing? Come on.
Well, I've got a I got one thing to say. Don't worry, we'll still be doing the. We're gonna go band for band or song for song for all. I think we're doing 7 movies total. We'll save that for the end. But I think what's important is we're going to. I think we should use the American school grading system here, but add the S on top. S being the best rating you can
Super.
get. F being the worst. We're not doing E because there is no E, so it's going to be S, A, B, C, D, and F. Where would you put episode 1?
Episode 1 is a solid A. It's in my opinion, it is a good stepping stone for the story. I know a lot of people would disagree with me because, I watch Star Wars for the drama, the fights, not political crap. Well, guess what? Sometimes political crap happens in the background.
I mean,
So
well,
I personally, it's an A to me.
I'd give it a B. I'm not going to be quite that generous, but it's a good. It's good enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But
Then again, I mean, I am biased. I am a Star Wars super nerd, so that's fair.
you have more context than I do. I love Star Wars, but I never dove into the extended stuff so much because right when I was going to start doing that, I got into 40K instead. But I think that's a good place to leave episode 1. Let's move on to episode 2. This movie also gets an incredible amount of hate because there's nothing worse than a Star Wars fan. This movie is incredible through and through. In fact, this is one of my favorites because it has everything you could possibly want. It ties in all of episode 1 nice and neat. Anakin's a teenager. You get so many interesting chase scenes, fight scenes. Probably the one of the best fight scenes in all of Star Wars when they go to the Coliseum, and then you get to see some of the coolest planets. You get to see some of the coolest characters get introduced in this one.
You
Episode
finally get to
2,
see you finally get to see Yoda throw down.
I don't care about Yoda.
Shit, I do. My issue, and I'll explain why, but well, let's do this a bit at a time.
Yeah.
A lot of people hate episode 2 because Anakin is a whiny little wimp. I don't want to use the word I was about to say.
Yeah,
But
he does spend a lot of time
a lot
whining.
a lot of people forget he is a moody ass teenager who has basically had to deal with Obi-Wan training him and being like, "You're the chosen one, Anakin." So it makes a lot of sense that Anakin might have this, overinflated sense of himself. It makes a lot of sense when you're being told almost constantly that, you are the chosen one. You'll have the ability to do great things in the future. And then when, you throw hormones in the mix, everyone acts surprised when you turn out to be kind of a annoying little shit.
Yeah, this it has kind of a slightly slow start, but then they pick it up right away when uh the greatest form of not my problem takes place in cinematic history, where Jango Fett's supposed to kill, or somebody was supposed to go, I forget who, pays, it was Palpatine pays Jango Fett to kill Padme because Palpatine can't be bothered. So then Jango Fett cannot be
Jango
bothered, so
Fett.
he pays some lady with poison worms to go and kill Padme instead. And because the lady can't be bothered to kill Padme either, so she employs some bugs to do it. And then gets chased down, and then Jango Fett, for whatever reason, seems to know that this person's an idiot. Is there in time after one of the coolest chase scenes in a fighter, or in weird space cars that you'll ever see takes place. Jango Fett's there to assassinate the person that he paid because he couldn't be bothered to do it right.
See, what kills me about that entire sequence is Django. If you were going to Coruscant anyway, why did you introduce so many, points of failure to a plan? You're
Oh,
supposed to be this uber badass assassin. What in the hell, my guy?
just idiotic through and through. It was brilliant for us to watch, but when you break this down step by step, absolute idiocy. And then that leads to Obi-Wan getting curious, and then we get to go see the coolest planet arguably in all of Star Wars, where they go to Kamino, and it's just a bunch of floating platforms because the place is constantly storming. Where you get to see the birth of the clone army, which later, spoiler alert, becomes the stormtroopers, and then you get to see an incredible fight between Obi-Wan and Jango Fett before they have yet
Well,
uh another incredible chase through space.
I don't want to be the I'm actually a guy, but remember, these are the clone troopers. The stormtroopers that we are familiar with from episodes 4 to 6, those are force conscripts because by the time they get around to that, all the clones have died.
Yeah, but they're the original
They're the
stormtroopers.
original stormtroopers, but yeah, they were the clone troops. So many little interesting things that shoot off from that. The Bad Batch, Commander Cody, Commander Rex, because certain of them actually did develop individuality, which the Kaminoans really didn't want, but
We also get to be introduced with the coolest character in the original trilogy, Boba Fett, but he's just a little guy.
then you find out he's actually just another clone that doesn't have any of the stuff that makes the clones.
Yeah, he's a direct clone, but he's not like modified in that sense to be brainless.
He doesn't have the Order 66 switch. He doesn't have any of the the hard programming or the whatever of the other clones.
Yeah. But the chase scene with Obi-Wan and Jango Fett, absolutely stunning. Watching the weird asteroid buster bombs go off is always super cool. One of the coolest sounds in cinema.
It's right up there. It tickles the brain.
Just that delayed, and then you slowly hear it fade in, and then it hits you. Just brilliant.
Let's see. Uh, I think I've tiptoed around it long enough. Going back to my complaint with Jar Jar, the fallout from people not liking Jar Jar is what gave us the character Count Dooku. And don't get me wrong, Dooku is a great character now. Because like all of the extended lore stuff has filled Dooku out very, very well. But at the time, Dooku came out of nowhere literally because Lucas wrote Dooku for the, for the express purpose of replacing Jar Jar as the revealed bad guy for episode 2. Because he was concerned that everyone would not go and see the movie if Jar Jar was a bigger presence in it. And look, this isn't me like taking a dump on Sir Christopher Lee. This is me taking a dump on Lucas. Because Dooku is a good character now. But when the movie came out, this is literally the first we're hearing about Count Dooku. Surely we would have heard a little bit of something about, some rebel Jedi that went rogue in episode 1, but we don't.
Yeah, with everything else going on.
The extended lore explains what happens with Dooku and why Dooku goes rogue. But for the time, it just didn't really make a lot of sense.
Well, you're skipping ahead on us. We haven't gotten to the goofy factory scene where they swap body, or C3PO gets body swapped. That was cool.
I can't move my legs. Yeah.
The factory scene is great.
The factory scene is what solidifies 3PO as being comedic relief at best, and R2 is a closeted badass.
Yeah. And then
with leg rockets.
And then of course we've got the whole Coliseum. Absolutely genius. I love
Look,
that entire sequence.
The Coliseum fight is great, but my favorite part of it is Mace Windu versus Jango.
That was cool. Yeah. This sequence also introduces the entirety of the prequel's greatest sin, in my opinion, is they keep showing you Kit Fisto, but Kit Fisto does not do anything, and it's like
Kit Fisto uses the Force to force push something, makes a grimace / smile at the camera, and then just goes away.
Yeah, and then
he does it a couple of times.
Yeah, he does this like 4 times in the entire series just to die later. And it pisses me off because he was the coolest guy there.
I don't know. Mace Windu is pretty cool.
Yeah, Mace Windu's great. I love Mace Windu. He's in my top 3 favorite of the Jedi, but like that's some of the extended lore I actually got was on Kit Fisto because I was so pissed off that he never did anything in the movies, and you find out that he is on par, if not in the top 3 in that entire Jedi Council that they have. and they just let him make these weird catfish smiles at people, and he doesn't do anything.
He's like the Alvin York of Jedi.
Criminally underrated. But then, yeah, as Trucker said, we get Count Dooku, more awesome fights between the clones and the, because the clones come to save the day. They take care of the droids, which introduces one of the coolest ground wars you get to see in the entirety of Star Wars. And then we get to watch Yoda bounce around like a pinball to save Anakin, who loses an arm, and Obi-Wan, who, for whatever reason, gets poked twice and decides to take a nap, which I still don't understand, but I didn't make the movies, so
Well, he gets stabbed, and the biggest issue with Star Wars is how blasé they are about certain wounds,
yeah.
if you know what I mean. Lucas loves a good arm cutting off. Loves a good arm getting cut off,
Arm and head.
but when you realize what a lightsaber is, you're like, wait a minute. The wound's instantly cauterized, so there is no bleeding. So, unless something really important's getting stabbed, it might not be as deadly, but sometimes somebody gets stabbed with a lightsaber, they're fine. Other times they die. It kind of doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's very
Qui-Gon gets
annoying.
stabbed, he dies. Obi-Wan gets stabbed, he's fine eventually. Anakin gets an arm cut off, he's fine.
Does also introduce Mace Windu's lightsaber, which is the best one.
I love the story behind it because he didn't even have a lightsaber in episode 1, because the amount of actual lightsaber fight in episode 1 was minuscule compared to episode 2. But the joke goes that Samuel L. Jackson was talking with George, and he's like, what color is my lightsaber going to be? And they were going back and forth, blue, green, possibly yellow, because the extended colors didn't really exist yet. Samuel L. Jackson was like, "Can it be purple?" And then that just kind of turned into, "Sure, yours can be purple. You can have the pimp saber."
It's the best one.
I also like the story that uh, Samuel L. Jackson allegedly stole one of the prop hilts for his lightsaber.
There's nothing alleged about it. He's shown pictures of it. He
Well,
has stolen it.
I know, but it's yes, he always goes in, allegedly. So I just thought I would engage in the shit post too. But can you blame the guy?
No, it'd been the first thing I would have stolen off a set. If
I'd
I
have been
was,
like,
if I
sorry
was
guys, I misplaced
any
my
any of the
lightsaber.
weapons, like if I got a blaster, I would have taken that. If I got a lightsaber, I would have taken that.
See, like, I would have gone out of my way to go after specific ones, if that makes any sense.
Not me. I take what I can get.
Like, the blaster that I would like specifically try to go for, the heavy assault clone trooper with that big basically as a blaster based off the MG34,
Yeah.
the German machine gun. That's the one I would try to go for. Why? Because it's cool looking.
I think that's a decent place to leave episode 2, though. I mean, that's pretty much all that happens. Oh, we forgot Anakin goes
Oh,
bonkers bananas and kills a bunch of sand people because they kidnapped his
Tuskens.
mom. Yeah, they're
They
later
kidnap.
revealed.
They kidnap his mom, and they kidnap his mom. She ends up dying. He goes on a straight up rampage, kills all of them, the children too. Tells Padme about it, and Padme's immediate response was, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Not, "Oh my God, you're a monster." In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Yeah, well, they were not exactly kind to his
And
mom,
then,
so
and then at the end of the, like at the end, after all the shit, Anakin gets a new shiny metal hand. Anakin marries Padme.
yeah, most unnecessary
Movie
sequence.
movie ends on something of a high note with a little bit of a dark undertone because the
Star
Jedi are
Wars.
having to admit that they're having issues with the Force right now, and
But
yeah,
yeah,
episode 2 comes to an ignominious end.
so where would you rank it?
This might come as a shocker to you, but it is my least favorite of the 6 episodes.
Crazy.
So, C.
That's an easy A.
It's a C to me simply because some of the pacing is a little weird,
That is true. The pacing is abysmal.
and the pacing is weird, and some of Anakin's dialogue. And yes, I know I pointed this out at the beginning of this segment of the thing, but Lucas's poor dialogue writing is highlighted in episode 2
Yeah.
because some of the things that get said, no sane individual would say. Make sense?
Yeah, it's bad.
That's why it's one of my least favorite, because most of the dialogue is okay, but some of it's just like, dude, come on.
But that brings us to a movie that puts a nice little bow on the whole thing. We have episode 3. There is not enough kind words for this movie.
Oh, episode 3 is the best of the prequel trilogy. And I just got forcefully reminded of something I should have mentioned. I'm sorry.
What?
Episode 2 also highlights the sheer and supreme arrogance of the Jedi Order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a little bit of it in episode 1, but in episode 2, it really ramps that up because it's trying to get you to understand that these people are way too comfortable with, status quo being status quo. Well, I'm sorry, Master Obi-Wan, but if it's not in our records, it doesn't exist. Sure, it does.
But that brings us to 3. Everybody's a little older. This has the greatest, hands down,
Space
space
fight.
fight ever, and we immediately get to see it. There's no waiting. We get to see the whole thing right away. And it is gorgeous. Very well shot. Everything's amazing. We get new droids, those weird buzz droids that fly the little tiny 3-pronged capsules for whatever reason, and then they eat through ships. That was cool.
Yeah, vulture
Yeah,
droids.
vulture droids.
Then you get to see just this absolutely it, the scale. The scale to me is what's super impressive about the beginning of episode 3, because it's nothing but Y-wings, S-wings, Jedi fighters, a few dozen of the Venator class cruisers,
Yeah.
and then just a whole bunch of trade union ships that are basically just being used by the separatists.
Yeah, the radio towers for the droids, and then you've got Grievous's strange Star Destroyer adjacent Ventor class adjacent ship. That was sweet. And what makes this even crazier is these guys had the nads to come straight to Coruscant to do this.
It's it's batshit. It's like the entire galaxy. You guys literally show up right here, and you manage to somehow successfully kidnap the Chancellor.
With no fight from anybody.
uh, with no fight from anybody. That right there was the biggest hint to me, because you mean to tell me that Palpatine has these guards that you see in episode 2,
Which are cool looking.
which I always call them the Praetorian, but I know that's not what they're actually called. They're like the Red Guard people.
Yeah, I love those guys.
And they didn't stop Dooku and or whoever the hell from successfully kidnapping the Chancellor, or quote unquote taking over the Chancellor's ship, which is what actually happened. Because they like infiltrated the ship and took it over.
Oh, that's right.
And, it's like, okay, one, how? And with later revelations, you're like, yeah, I can see how, he would have just let it happen. But, the coolest ever space fight followed up by one of the lamest lightsaber fights,
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
terrible fight.
Because Dooku kicked all kinds of ass in episode 2, and you're just going to have him get bodied in less than a minute. Oh, but Anakin's older, he's wiser, he's stronger. Yeah, but
Still a cool fight though. Like aesthetically, and the places that they kind of moved around were great, but it was underwhelming, if that makes sense.
yes. Don't get us wrong, or don't at least get me wrong. It is a cool lightsaber fight, but it's easily the lamest one in the whole movie. And there are some pretty kick-ass lightsaber fights in episode 3.
We get to see Grievous, who is the coolest.
See, like, I like Grievous, but I like Grievous for reasons that I don't really ever get a chance to fully explain. Because he's not really a robot.
Nope. No, he's not.
Grievous is, a cyborg
Yeah, he's a tortured lizard person.
with a whole heap of mechanical parts. He can't use the Force, but boy howdy does he know how to fight with a lightsaber. Lightsabers.
Yeah, all four of them.
And he has one of easily the most iconic lines in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
Ah, General Kenobi. Hello there. Just that the Grievous is cool for a lot of reasons. Grievous is a really cool bad guy.
We also
I would
get
even
the
say I would even say that minus the extended lore on Maul, he's even cooler than Maul.
way cooler.
Maul gets a lot of his cool factor from the extended lore. Because it turns out he's pretty much, force co-opted into being a Sith. He didn't actually choose it. Sidious, on the other hand, Sidious is all, or not Sidious, Grievous. Grievous, on the other hand, is all about kicking ass, taking names, and getting more mechanical parts.
And that's where we got to see even cooler guard droids. Those guys with the lightning sticks were sick. But
Yeah.
what makes it even better is they split the ship up somehow. I forget. The ship takes too much damage right around the time Anakin executes Dooku, and they fly the top half straight into the city streets just outside of some majorly important buildings. Actually, I think they managed to park it right outside of the Jedi Temple.
We're going to crash half of this giant starship on a city, on a, citywide, or, a planet-wide city. And we're just going to so happen to crash it in this one spot for it to be really funny.
But that's when even though there's some downtime where not a whole lot happens except for them, putting pieces together about Palpatine and finding where Grievous is and all that other good stuff. That is where you get to see that Lucas got to stick in his middle finger to everybody, because when you do get to see Councilman Jar Jar, who's gotten his promotion, he does start doing a lot of weird hand gestures at people, and all of a sudden they're doing a whole lot of things that he wanted them to do.
Uh-huh. Then you get to go to that really weird opera thing.
Yeah, that was where we get
Like
an exposition dump of the ages about
Anakin
Plagueis.
Anakin is supposed to be like guarding slash keeping a spy eye on Palpatine because Yoda, Windu, and uh, a few other of the Jedi Council members, the pink conehead guy,
And we'll just give Kit Fisto some credit because he didn't do anything.
and good old Kit.
Kit did it
They're all
too.
like, yeah, Palpatine's doing some weird, sketchy shit. We need to keep an eye on him. Hey, yo, guy who we gave a seat to on the council, but not the rank of master. Yeah, you don't have a grudge against us, right?
Yeah, also some stupid
We're
planning
gonna,
and development.
we're gonna give you this super important job because Palpatine seems a little weirdly obsessed with you that we're not gonna, focus on or give too much thought to. And then the guy immediately, and by the guy I mean Palpatine, immediately starts talking about some Sith shit with Anakin, and Anakin didn't immediately go, "Hey, what the fuck?" Because
Darth,
Anakin's an idiot.
we get introduced to the concept of Darth Plagueis, who clearly has the greatest name in all of Star Wars history, and we still don't get to see him.
Or do we?
What are you
Because
saying?
a lot of the interesting stuff about around Plagueis is that he actually figured out how to transfer, his quote unquote soul slash consciousness to new bodies.
Mm.
And that's one of the things that, Daddy Palpy was trying to do in the later episodes. So it's entirely plausible that Sidious is actually Plagueis, or Sidious learned how to do it from Plagueis. And one of the big theories is that Jar Jar is actually Plagueis.
I was just gonna say I came to that conclusion a little too late, but that makes a lot of sense. I was just gonna say that.
Because a lot of people theorize that, Jar Jar is actually Darth Plagueis.
That would have
Because
been the best reveal.
it's widely accepted that Sidious's Sith mentor was in fact Plagueis. Or Plagueis. And who have we seen exhibit some very Sithy behavior throughout the entire fucking franchise? Jar Jar. So yeah, it's I'm also of the camp that believes that Mace Windu is alive because we've seen way too many people survive quote unquote, deadly falls from high altitude.
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I totally believed he was dead, but as an adult, I've grown up. I don't think he's dead.
I mean, in episode 2, we literally see Anakin yeet himself out of the moving, space car.
Yeah, nothing ever happened to him.
Hmm.
I mean, he did have plot armor, but still, you get what
Darth,
I'm saying.
Darth Maul got cut in half and fell into the big pit of where does that go?
Yeah, the pit of question marks.
And he didn't die, so it's like, okay, I 1000% believe that Mace Windu is alive.
Yeah, everybody that quote unquote dies in Star Wars is just pretty much just becomes a Schrodinger character. They only come back when you need them, but until then, they're both alive and dead until you find out or hear otherwise.
Pretty much.
But then we get to see Obi-Wan find Grievous, and then we get the coolest chase scene in all of Star Wars history. That ends in one of the most epic fights because dude, he loses his lightsaber, so he's got to do this straight up with a guy that's got 4 of them, and then Commander Cody finds his lightsaber, which could have been a real big oops-a-daisy.
We finally see a Jedi use a blaster
And do it well, and it's cool.
Do it pretty all right, and then he says the one phrase that everyone remembers Obi-Wan saying, "So uncivilized."
Well, that's not true. I mean, we get to see a Jedi using a blaster a bunch of times in 4, but I mean, we're not on that one yet, so
Technically, I guess.
maybe technically that's all Luke did was use a blaster for the most part until he got his lightsaber. He had the Force.
He wasn't a Jedi yet.
So, oh my goodness, they didn't give him his title. He had this. He had the stuff.
He wasn't a Jedi yet, my guy.
Oh my goodness. So why he can't be a Jedi because they didn't give him the title?
No, like he wasn't actually a Jedi yet. Like you have to be quote unquote, knighted to be a Jedi. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You didn't. He still had the power though.
Yeah, but I mean, there are Force sensitives everywhere, but not all Force sensitives are Jedi.
I don't know. This is
until you receive the training, you're not a Jedi.
I don't know. Yet. This is like when people tell me I'm not a pharmacist just because I tell them to take some ibuprofen. It's starting to get we're splitting hairs now.
I mean, you're not a pharmacist.
I like to think that I am.
Careful, you might get accused of practicing pharmacy without a license. We know how much certain people love that.
I just gotta find a celebrity and then it'll be okay.
I practice holistic pharmacy. Speaking of holistic pharmacy, like, does everybody get a free limb in Star Wars? Because man, there's a lot of limb cutting off.
I'm trying to think of what the hell happens. Yeah, basically a little bit more happens. I can't remember exactly what. Some filler stuff happens, and then we get the Order 66. Order 66 rings out. All the Jedi get killed, and Obi-Wan just barely gets his lightsaber from Cody before he's
I
almost blasted into, straight to the Shadow Realm.
left some stuff out there, my guy. Mace Windu, along with a cadre of other
Oh yeah,
Jedi,
yeah, that's right. We forgot Kit
and
Fisto.
your boy Kit Fisto
Yeah, he smiles at the
show up.
camera for the last time before getting stabbed, and then does nothing.
They show up at Daddy Palpy's office. You're hereby under arrest for being a Sith, you bastard. And
And he says,
then
"No."
Palpatine hits him with one of the other iconic lines from Episode 3. So it's treason then.
Yeah, that's right. And then Big Head, Kit Fisto, and the other one who only existed for the purposes of Episode 3 die. Mace Windu puts up a hell of a fight, and then he gets killed by losing
Betrayed.
his hand and thrown through a window after Anakin becomes a man baby for
He
the
gets his
80th time.
arm. He gets his arm cut off by Anakin, and then he gets force lightning out a window by, scarred Palpy. The attack by the Jedi have left me scarred. I'm pretty sure you did that to yourself, dude.
I mean, like, literally, though.
That's when he hits him with the ever so popular, no. Fuck you mean, nah.
Yeah, and then Anakin goes and Anakin's ordered to become Darth Vader, and then Darth Vader is then ordered to politely and calmly make sure that all of the young Padawans are completely safe and sound. Makes them he makes some cookies, and they actually break out an acoustic guitar so he can sing them
tell him,
songs.
stories about how he grew up in the sand.
Master Skywalker, are you here to save
And
us? And then he's like, "Yeah, of course."
and then he gets the order to go to Mustafar and take care of some business because those damned bug people from Episode 2 are finished building or finished designing the thing, and he has to go take care of business so they won't tell anybody.
Yeah, it's to kill Viceroy and the other one from Episode 1, which it was cool to see those guys again.
Yep. Gunray and
Viceroy.
whatever the other guy's name is. Well, Gunray was the Viceroy. The
Oh yeah,
toady. I don't know. I don't remember what the toady's name is.
I have no idea.
He goes to kill them dudes, basically ending the entire rebellion by the separatists. And that's when Obi-Wan shows up with Padme because Obi-Wan found the
Pregnancy test.
hologram recording of, Anakin killing younglings, and it's one of the funniest fourth wall breaks.
What's up?
Because, in case you didn't know, Youngling or Yingling is a brand of beer, and apparently Ewan McGregor likes drinking Yinglings, and he had a hard time not laughing while he said, he saw Anakin on screen killing younglings.
But
And he shows Padme the recording, and Padme is immediately disillusioned from, immediately disillusioned with her husband, whom she saw kill a bunch of kids, and thus commences one of the greatest fights in cinematic history.
Yeah, and I got it wrong. When Order 66 gets declared, that's when we get to see one of the other cool Jedi that who we only ever see for some reason flying a starship. Well, not a starship, but one of the I forget which one they're called. It's the what the X-wing be or what becomes the X-wing.
Oh, the S wing.
Yeah, he's only ever flying that, so he gets blown up, and then Fathead, the guy with a giant head, that's he gets just gunned down because apparently, even though he was supposed to be like super smart and the only dude that in the extended lore is allowed to have kids for some reason, he gets shot like a chump, even though he was supposed to be, even according to the extended lore, he was supposed to be the most badass in the entire Jedi Council, but he doesn't put up any kind of a fight because reasons. Uh, Also, the Battle of Kashyyyk happens. That's when we get to see Chewbacca.
That's when we get to meet Chewie for the first time, and we learn that Yoda is really good friends with the Wookiees.
Yeah, that was a cool fight too. Between the droids and the clones on Kashyyyk, that was great. Then we get to watch Yoda fight Palpatine, which I cannot stress enough. I don't care. I mean, it was cool, but I don't like Yoda, so I don't care.
It's an all right fight. I guess I'm gonna have to eventually ask you what your big beef with the little green guy is.
Oh, I mean, it's simple. He talks like an idiot. He's got some of the dumbest lines in cinematic history, and all he does is jump from place to place. And it's like, what are you trying to do? Bore your opponent to death because I gotta sit there and watch you hop around like a frog instead of straight up fighting like literally everybody else. And then because he talks in because he talks in backwards, everybody just assumes he's wise. And because he jumps, everybody just assumes that he is super strong. And it's like, not really. He connects sabers with his opponent maybe twice a fight, and the guy gets so tired and dizzy watching him hop around that he just takes a nap, and then Yoda can stab him. It's just so stupid. He's got the dumbest line in history. Do or do not. There is no try. Shut up, idiot, idiot, absolute moron. I get
Well,
I get what he's trying to say. It's like you either accomplish it or you don't, but there's still a trying phase involved. How else do you know you can't do it? You absolute douche. He's the kind of guy that gets stoned and can only play Wonderwall, and then he's trying to tell you that he's so much more worldly and intelligent than you because he doesn't wear socks and shoes and has been to Peru once. Like not there's absolutely nothing to Yoda.
oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I guess I get your point. The idea between do or do not, there is no try, is basically you either do a thing or you don't do a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, oh, that's
I know we've had that discussion before. It's not like he's saying the concept of trying something doesn't exist. It's the idea that you either do it or you don't.
well, it's the exact equivalent of when you go, yeah, the sky's blue, and then some nerd comes up to you and goes, actually, there's special particles in the air that when the sun refracts off of them, it makes a blue color, and it's like, cool, dude, the sky's still fucking blue. You know, that's the equivalent of Yoda. That's what Yoda is. He's a redditor.
Okay.
And the faster that people see that and get that, the better off everybody's gonna be.
The better off everyone will be as soon as they see that Yoda is just not as cool as everyone thinks he is.
Yeah, and what's crazy, not to jump too far ahead, but to prove that Yoda is a giant nothing burger with nothing cheese and a heaping helping a nothing sauce. When we get into the Book of Boba Fett, the show, baby Yoda, little Grogu, is a whopping 2 feet tall, probably weighs about 8 pounds, can't hardly speak, and is mostly just drooling on himself and exists just to be adorable. Already does more in 15 minutes of screen time than Yoda does in the 6 hours that they give him between 6 movies. All Yoda does is sit there and hover around on his weird disc that they probably ripped from Dragon Ball Z, and that's it. And then he dies. I think his most badass fight in the entirety that he exists is when he finally does something on Kashyyyk, when he jumps and slashes 2 clone troopers from behind. That is it. But yeah, then we get to Mustafar. Now that that rant's done with, we get to Mustafar where we get to see the greatest fight, and I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's so visually appealing that it makes the poster of the movie. That's all you need to know about that. I mean, it's incredibly well done. And Anakin does not understand the concept of high. In his infinite wisdom, even though he's supposed to be a battle master at this point, has never grasped the concept of why having the high ground is important. I don't think he watched enough World War I or II documentaries while he was training, so that's on him.
He never read the Jedi equivalent of Sun Tzu, apparently.
Yeah. And then then we get to see more limb losing porn from George Lucas as he loses his legs and his other arm that wasn't gone.
It's like, I get how that cut happened. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like, damn, Obi, you didn't have to do a man like that.
Didn't have to turn him into a quadriplegic or a triglyplegic because he still has the one robot arm that was malfunctioning in the lava, but still worked. And then we get to watch the uncomfortable scene of after Obi-Wan leaves, we get to watch Palpatine, who just kind of after we've watched this epic river fight
No,
that
no, no, no. Epic lava fight.
well, it's a river of lava, but like it's the equivalent of two people fighting each other on side by side, ships on a river essentially because they're forcing these poor worker droids
Droid.
to
These poor droids who are like shielded from the lava by their shields until they're not. Carry
yeah.
them through this lava gorge while they're having the most badass saber fight.
Meanwhile, after it's done, we just get to watch Palpatine from, I don't know, I'm guessing whatever the Mustafar equivalent of a truck stop is, just kind of wander into the ditch where space truckers take a piss. And you watching Anakin crawl around in agony. And he's just like, hey, you want to go get something to eat? And they
Taking
stick him to a medical droid and turn him into Darth Vader.
taken back to the ship, and then Palpatine see like this is where my deep lore is gonna come in.
The deep lore.
Palpatine takes him back to essentially Palpy's flagship, where he proceeds to then have like old tech, like technology from, dozens and dozens, hundreds of years ago, strapped to Anakin. And he basically creates this suit that inhibits Anakin's access to the Force. But Anakin is still Vader, and he's still pants shittingly scary with the Force, even while wearing a suit that kind of castrates his use of the Force. It's crazy. And then Palpatine immediately lies to him. Where's Padme? It seems in your anger you killed her.
Yep.
No.
And then he hurts those poor medical droids, which was uncalled for.
He crushes everything in that room except Palpatine, who's got this weird, yes, like smile on his face. He crushes them all like beer cans.
And that's where the extended lore really kicks off, as he has literal infinite opportunities after he quote unquote recovers after the events of 3 to get better suit, get fixed up, not have to be in pain, and actually be able to function and not be inhibited. And he just goes, I don't think so. And there's a reason for it. I guess it makes him stronger, but it's just crazy that that's a thing.
I mean, there for a while, he does actually start to substitute some of the parts of the suit out. But the extended lore being what it is, it gets a little crazy. So it kind of has to get reined back in a little bit.
Yeah.
But like by the time we actually get to Vader in episode 4, his suit's pretty much the way it's always going to be. And deep cut that I'll get to when we get to those. But he was actually shielding his own force strength from Palpatine by that point.
But we gotta rank this one. This is simple S.
S.
Easy S. In fact, with two S's on the board, that would make it an S plus. And that takes us to Rogue One.
Oh,
Let me be honest. I've seen it twice. I remember almost none of it. I remember the end. It was great. Best ending to a movie
they're
ever. There's a lot of good
they're
fight
really
sequences.
there's really only a few things you need to know about Rogue One. For starters, you've got people who are part of the rebellion
Yep.
managed to get their hands on the Death Star plans through a very weird, you know, collection of events. They get together some of the coolest characters that have no impact on the greater story at all, except for one. And he is easily my favorite non Jedi character. I guess I would say he's easily my favorite Force sensitive character,
Yeah, the blind guy.
Sharut Imwe. I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Like, Force sensitive, can't use it, but can sense it. Badass. And without him, Leia doesn't get her hands on the Death Star plans.
That's what I
like at
liked.
all.
That's what I liked about Rogue One is it finally leaves the Jedi behind for a little while, and you just get to see normal people doing normal war stuff, and it's so refreshing. I
You
wish,
get to see regular people doing rebellion things.
yeah, and that's what I get. That's the point of Star Wars, but I have to admit, you get 9 movies of it. I would like more than just one that is people doing war stuff in a sci-fi setting, like that trailer that I sent you that a fan made on TikTok. I wish that could be a movie. They got rid of the sound on that, which makes me angry, but I mean that's
You got
so
to
well
watch.
done.
I will give. I will give Disney their due credit on one thing and one thing alone. Andor is actually really good. I like Andor.
Maybe I'll have to check it out. I'm just so burnt out on Disney slop.
Because they don't really have a lot of Jedi stuff in it. It's a Star Wars story that doesn't really involve Jedi stuff. But
I
anyway, that's not the point.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I don't hate Jedi. Jedi are really really cool, and I get that that's the point. It's just it's refreshing to see something different.
Yeah.
But then we get to see the scene that leads us directly into episode
Yeah.
4, which is the
The
most.
the coolest part of Rogue One is like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool.
It's
Even though you know
because
what's going to happen, it's still shocking and it's still so well done. And it proves that if they were to do like a Star Wars horror movie, they could do it. It's just genius.
because you've got the batshit insanity going on the ground with Sharut and the rest of the squad. They managed to get the jamming beacon taken down so they can beam up the plans. They get the plans, and then a bunch of these rebel dudes who are 2 days from retirement are running through the hallways of Tantive 4. And they get to one hallway that's completely dark. And they set up, they're like, something's there, but we can't really tell what. And then just out of nowhere, red lightsaber and breathing. And we're like, oh shit,
And
it's
just some of the
on.
most gnarly slaughtering of people you get to see.
But see, I love how this was almost immediately pointed out. Vader's chest rig has a lot of lights on it, and they're like indicator lights that his life support is working, right?
Yeah.
He turned all that shit off so they wouldn't see him. Meaning that Anakin was putting himself in pain and basically not breathing for a little bit so he could, give these guys the worst jump scare of their lives.
Just so cool. But if I were
And
to. Sorry?
God, he fucks them up.
Yeah, it's disturbing. It's amazing. But honestly, next to no rewatchability, I would have to rank this one. And it's only because of the last scene it gets a C.
I give Rogue One a C, but if we were judging by just the last couple of minutes alone, it would be a B.
Yeah, if it was the last. That means, a very comfortable C plus. But that brings us into our final stretch here. We're an hour and 25 minutes in. Let's finish up these last 3. Starting off where Rogue One ends immediately. The
Can you
very
imagine?
first.
Can you imagine the chutzpah it takes to look Vader in the face after your ship just escaped an Imperial blockade? And you're just going to look at him and go, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. This is a diplomatic ship to Alderaan.
Yeah.
You are a rebel spy. Like, Vader was tame talking to her after that shit.
Well, she had
It's like,
she had the balls to lie to him because that was her dad. It just came naturally.
so naturally, Vader seizes the entire ship, Tantive 4, puts Leia in prison. Fucking, droids, sir. No life forms on the escape pod. We'll go down there and search anyway. Comb the desert. We ain't found shit. Spaceballs reference. Can't
Yep.
help it. So we get this incredibly fun introduction to the next generation of Skywalkers. And the blue milk.
Blue milk.
We get introduced to the Jawas for the first time if you watch the movies in order of release. You realize that they're, little thieving bastards that steal shit and then resell it, but hey, gotta grind, get on that hustle.
Yeah, we get to after Leia gets impounded by Vader, because that's pretty much what happens. They deem the ship unlawful, so they get impounded, and Leia's pending trial. We get to start seeing Luke.
We get to meet a few different characters very quickly that we're very familiar with by this point in time. R2 and 3PO meet up with Luke. That's after they get, caught by the Jawas.
Yeah.
And then Uncle Owen, who we now know to be basically the son of Lars, but not the son of Shmi, which was Anakin's mom. So uncle by kind of marriage, I guess. Buys R2 and 3PO. Luke gets the message meant for Obi-Wan. They meet up with Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan convinces Luke to go on an adventure when he finds, when he finds Owen and Beru barbecued in the front yard.
And then we get to see the most epic sunset. Well, after Obi-Wan gives Luke Anakin's lightsaber, which is incredible.
I gotta make the joke now. This was your father's lightsaber. He killed a bunch of younglings with it, and then I cut off his legs and his other arm. It was a rough day. I cried.
Yeah, but we get to see. But when Luke decides that he's going to leave, that's when you get introduced to. I mean, granted, this is our first, in order of release, this is your first impression of the Star Wars universe. But when Luke decides to leave, you get the absolute majesty and perfection of not only what this world has to offer with a twin sunset, but you get to see how absolutely insane John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra is.
Oh yeah, that theme is going to be one of the best things humanity has ever put down. It's gonna be there forever, as it should. It's a beautiful piece of music.
But yeah, it's found out that the stormtroopers barbecued Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. But,
then they go to Mos Eisley.
Yeah.
The most wretched hive of scum and villainy you'll ever find.
That's
They meet up with They
Yeah.
meet up with a bunch of friends we've had that they meet up with a guy that we've known in the past, Chewie, and the scruffy nerf herder himself, Han Solo. And by the way, he shot first.
Well, yeah, obviously.
So Jabba used to be a human back in the day, but now he's a big worm.
Yep.
They
That's
get some really fun, interesting music in the cantina, and I swear I'm not making this shit up. The name of that kind of music is called jizz.
that's great. But they make a deal with Han, hit the road in what is the equivalent of a big rig.
That's no moon.
Yep, we do eventually make it to the Death Star after a really cool fight on the
And
way to it.
some training.
Yeah, some
Luke
training.
getting Luke getting fucking lasered by a little disco ball looking thing. Han talking some mad shit about the Force and how it's just a hokey religion.
Yep.
Han also telling 3PO maybe don't piss off Chewie when you're playing that really weird chess game. Because a Wookiee cannon will rip your arm out.
We also get to watch Leia's Leia not folding, and then they decide that it's just best if instead of trying to get her to talk, we'll just blow up her home planet. I don't know. It was great. We get to see the power of the Death Star, brilliantly done.
And it's
Alderaan
never
gets
confirmed
blown.
nor denied that it's neither confirmed nor denied that Senator Organa, which is Leia's adoptive daddy, was on that planet when it blew up or not.
True.
We just never know.
Then we get to see, they eventually make it onto the Death Star. We get to see incredibly iconic moments, like Han Solo playing radio guy after they had gotten some stormtrooper outfits by having them board the Millennium Falcon and they get taken out. Then they go into the trash compactor, which is also an iconic scene, very brilliantly done.
Oh, hang on. We forgot a bit. We got to meet. We forgot when we met Grand Moff Tarkin
Oh, that's
or
right.
Will Moff Tarkin, the Star Wars equivalent of Tywin Lannister.
Yeah, that guy was cool.
Man, straight up said, "Doesn't matter. You told us they're on Tatooine. We're gonna blow up Alderaan anyway."
Yep. An unnecessary douchebag.
And apparently, like, this is just based on stuff that he told during like the filming of back then. All the scenes he was in, he wasn't wearing shoes
Yeah.
because they like couldn't get costume, like the costume department couldn't get boots that would fit his feet. So all the scenes he's in, he does not have shoes. It's all these little weird, interesting little things.
Well, we also forgot about some top brass getting the Nads to tell their scary boss that his religion is bullshit, and then he gets choked in the meeting.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
But yeah,
That's
now
when
we're
we got. We also got to meet Admiral Piet a little bit later on, since we're talking about that. Also, rest in peace, that guy, because he just passed away a few days ago. The
but
guy
yeah,
that played Admiral Piet.
we we then get to after they deal with the trash compactor, they fight their way through the Death Star some more, which was again brilliantly done. Obi-Wan this whole time was kind of poking around like he was the
Shutting
lost
down
kid at a museum tour guide.
well, remember he was shutting down the
Oh
tractor
yeah,
beam.
that's right. He was I
And
forgot
guess
about the
what?
tractor beam.
There's another instance of, no safety rails or nothing because the controls for the tractor beam are on this thing that's suspended above an abyss with no safety railing. It's like, where does that hole go?
Well, this we have an answer to. We know there's a bottom of the Death Star, so we know that there's
Uh,
a place where that goes.
all the big holes in the Death Star go to the same place, the fusion core.
Yeah, there's no question about that one. That's the only hole that we have an answer to. Then we watch Obi-Wan get poked in the belly while they're all trying to escape, and he disappears instead of dies, which is bizarre because
Well,
he just becomes a ghost.
we later learn he became one with the Force and turned into a Force ghost,
Yeah.
which is something that everyone can do because we later learn in some of the other movies we won't talk about that Qui-Gon is a Force ghost.
Yep.
Because we learn about that in, I
Obi-Wan.
believe it was Rebels. The TV show Rebels that Yoda spends a lot of time talking to Qui-Gon apparently.
Mm.
But yeah, if you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Vader strikes him down. Obi-Wan becomes a Force ghost, becomes one with the Force, and can, affect things apparently. Tells Luke to go to Dagobah
Yeah.
because apparently Obi-Wan knew where Yoda was hiding the entire time.
And like a rational person, knew it was a lost cause, so never went and visit him.
Well, no, you have to remember that Obi-Wan was staying on Tatooine for a reason.
Yeah, the movie has its version. I have mine.
He was staying on Tatooine so he could keep Luke safe. Allegedly.
Allegedly. But yeah, I think that's obviously a very well done movie. This kicked the whole thing off. I
Yep.
think
It did well enough that Lucas wrote, episodes 5 and episode 6.
I think with this one, the more that we talk about it and the more I'm remembering about it, I think I'm comfortable bumping episode 1 down to a B like you did and putting this one at A.
Yeah.
I think that's more appropriate. Episode 1 getting moved down to B. Episode 4 easy A.
Episode 4 is very, very easily an A to me.
That makes it an A plus.
Moving on to episode 5.
Yep. Episode 5. This is I'm biased. This is probably my favorite in the trilogy. It's tough, but I absolutely adore this one. Uh how does this one begin? It's been a hot minute since I've seen it.
I'll let you think about it for a minute.
I'm too wrapped up in Hoth. I need
Well, you're not wrong.
Did we completely skip over them blowing up the Death Star in episode
Yeah, we
4?
did, but
No, that's important. That was a great sequence.
I
Moving,
mean, yeah, sure, use the Force, Luke, and
it was
then you.
iconic.
like everybody knows though.
Yeah, but we can't skip over that in the review. Look, I got so much hate for how we reviewed Scream that I gotta back it up and mention the easily the most iconic moment of them leaving Yavin 4 or whatever to go and blow up the Death Star, which was awesome.
Yeah,
They sent
Luke basically one ups a rebel, a rebel X-wing fighter by saying, "Look, dude, yeah, the exhaust port's only 2 meters across, but I used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home, and they're not much bigger than 2 meters, so it can be done, bitch."
yeah, and he also sends Darth Vader spinning
Yeah, spinning
because
right round.
he was in his the TIE bomber,
And
and
they go through the trench run, and it's very exciting, very for its time. It was a hell of a. It's not even like a chase. It's a very action packed sequence of film, and then like one of the first times you get Obi-Wan saying, "The Force, Luke, use the Force."
yeah, it was awesome.
And then Luke disengages his targeting computer, and everyone on the rebel side shits their pants. Like, what are you doing?
That's
And
when
then one of the biggest, no, trust me, bro, I got this moments. Completely bullseyes that shit with a photon a torpedo or whatever the hell that was.
you can't forget we got to watch Fat Boy, who was definitely stuck in that X-wing. He blew up.
Well, he died. You talk about Porkins?
Yeah, Porkins.
Well, he died. Like he had already died because he got shot down by one of the other Tie fighters.
I know. I'm just saying, like that's part of the sequence. He gets blown
And
up.
a little on the nose, Lucas, don't you think? I mean, yeah, the guy's chubby, but calling him Porkins, come on.
It was the '70s.
And that's as a fat guy. It's like I'm not offended or nothing, but shit.
They didn't call him Tubby McFatkin. They just called him Porkins. Now we can go to 5. I still don't remember how it starts, and that's frustrating.
Dude, it opens up on Hoth, man.
Okay, so I was right. Yeah, I'm in the right neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like a couple of years. I don't remember how long it's been, but it's like a couple of years after they blew up the first Death Star. They're at the Rebel base on Hoth, and you had those Imperial probe droids,
Yeah, that's right.
the little black,
Octopus.
basketball looking fuckers.
Yeah, with octopus arms.
Luke is out there on his Tauntaun, and he gets absolutely bodied by a Wampa.
Yep. He still cuts that
And
guy's arm off after he gets trapped upside down because he was about to be eaten.
it's literally the very first time Luke ever uses the Force,
Which was awesome because it's
and
stuck in.
he
Yeah, that was great.
gets the lightsaber to shoot to his hand from like 20 feet away, and cuts himself free, and then in the descent from the ceiling, cuts off the arm of the Wampa.
Yep. And then he wanders around a little bit, and then
Outside like an idiot.
yep, and then Han finds him, and then he stuffs him into his he kills his mount and then cuts it open and shoves him inside.
Well, no, you got like the order of events was Luke gets fucked by the Wampa.
Yeah.
Luke leaves the Wampa's lair
Yep.
on his Tauntaun. Luke's Tauntaun kind of
Dies.
dies, and before we get any further, Mark Hamill was in a car crash that kind of fucked his face up,
Oh,
and they use the Wampa fight to actually cover why Luke's face looks way different. Because apparently the Wampa fucked him up bad. So then Luke, as he's freezing to death, sends out a distress call, and Han shows up on a tauntaun and shoves Luke inside the body of Luke's dead tauntaun.
Right.
then
By using
they just
Luke's
get,
lightsaber too.
then they just get saved.
And then we get to see Luke suspended in a
Back
weird,
to town.
yeah, the tank.
I really wish those existed, by the way,
I think everybody does.
because a back to tank is basically just like we're gonna stick you in here for a few days, and you're gonna, recover, and everything will stop hurting, and everything will heal. God, that sounds awesome. Shove Luke in a back to tank. Leia and Han have an argument where she calls him a scruffy nerf herder.
Then the base gets attacked.
You could cut the tension between Han and Leia with a knife. Base gets attacked by Imperial snow troopers.
Which is one of the coolest sequences in all of Star Wars.
You finally get to you finally get to see the big Imperial walkers, the AT-ATs.
I love those things.
They're great, but they have a severe flaw.
Yeah, they don't like ropes.
And that's if one of their legs gets tangled up, good fucking luck.
That was so cool, though. I loved that scene. The tension is well done. The fight is cool. You get to see the snow variant of stormtroopers, which looked awesome. And then that's where the rebels win. Luke gets in an X-wing and goes and sees our favorite redditor Yoda, who is now completely out of his mind, but is the best iteration of Yoda because it's honest. He's a senile old dude who demands people carry him on their backs, like they had been doing since he was a young man in episodes 1 through 3. It's come full circle, but now they're not going to be so subtle with it. It is very blatant in your face. There is no metaphor. Once again, the Jedi Order is, even though it's only one strong, it has still got to carry this frog on its back.
He tells Luke not to go into the cave.
He goes into the cave.
Gets in an illusionary fight.
Which was bizarre.
But we're kind of glossing over the fact that it, doesn't really happen in that order, but we're just going over the big bits.
Yeah, the big bits. Oh no, that happens in the next episode. Never mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yoda goes through a montage with Luke on how to, use the light side of the Force, and teaches him that, hatred and anger and all that shit is bad for you, which we all know is bullshit. Because it'll seduce you to the dark side. But what Yoda and the rest of the Jedi fail to realize is that, you can literally not, cut yourself off from those emotions.
I think he makes Luke lift his X-wing out of the dirt.
No, Yoda crash lands and then, or Yoda, fuck.
Luke
Luke
crash
crash
lands.
lands his X-wing in the swamp,
Yep.
and then Yoda's like, just like your old master, you are. Basically, throwing some serious shade at Obi-Wan. And he tries to get Luke to lift it out, and Luke's like, "It can't be done." And then Yoda's like, "Don't tell me what can't be fucking done, you little bastard." And then he like floats it out.
Yeah. Which at that point is the most he's ever done.
Weight
Previously it
wise.
was previously it was jumping behind two stormtrooper or two clone troopers, and now he's lifted a ship out of the mud.
No, I remember in episode 2 he stopped a big metal thing from crushing
True. That is very
uh
true.
Obi-Wan and Anakin, so we've seen him do shit before, but
Okay, he finally has a reason
watching
to do stuff.
watching him throw the little Senate podium thing at Palpatine in episode 3 was pretty cool too.
Yeah, that
So,
was cool. But Luke leaves Dagobah.
against the instruction of Yoda, and fucking Force Ghost Obi-Wan is like, "Oh well, Luke is our only hope," and there he goes. And then Yoda's like, "No, there is another,"
Yeah.
hinting that there may in fact be, more to somebody else. And then, we go over to Cloud City where things have been moving apace, and fucking Lando betrays the squad and gives Han over to Vader, and in one of the most iconic slash cringy ass ad lib moments in television history, Leia goes, "I love you," and Han goes, "I know."
Yeah, but that was badass because it was Han. That's the only difference. If it was anybody else, it would have been lame.
He gets fucking frozen in carbonite, gets turned into a Han popsicle. And
And
then
then
Lando comes to his senses and frees Leia and Chewie and 3PO technically. They fight their way out of fucking Cloud City to where the Falcon is docked, and meanwhile Luke is having a fight with Vader elsewhere in Cloud City.
and Boba Fett scones with Han to sell to Jabba, who's still pissed at him.
Yep. And while we're on the topic, Disney, stop being such flowering little babies. The name of Boba's ship is the Slave One. Hush.
But this fight between Luke and Darth Vader is one of the best in the entirety of the
One of
Star
the
Wars
greatest
universe.
one of the greatest twists slash gotchas in film history.
Yeah.
Like, we all know it now. There are people on this planet who have never fucking seen Star Wars who know that Vader is Luke's dad, right?
Yeah.
But at the time, nobody knew that shit was coming.
And it was crazy.
Like, the only people that knew were Mark Hamill and George Lucas. Because the guy that was in the Vader suit said something completely different at first. And it was a closed set shoot because George wanted that to be like the biggest reveal ever. So it was just George, Mark, and then Probst, the guy in the Vader suit. But he said something different, and then in post, they got James Earl Jones to say the iconic shit. "No, I am your father."
Yeah.
And that took even the entire crew, when they watched the final cuts, were like, "Ooh." And it was like the biggest twist ever, and it was great.
And we got to. He waits to tell Luke this after he cut off his hand and it went into another infinity hole, and then Instead of embracing the dark side and joining Darth Vader, he jumps into the Infinity Hole but finds a weird trash
Yeah.
chute.
He, I always thought it was kind of like an exhaust vent or something, and he's hanging on by like a radio antenna,
Yeah, at the bottom of Cloud City, which was great. And
and he uses the Force to contact Leia, which is a little bit of a hint that she might be not all that we think.
yep. And then she, yeah, gets Lando to turn the big rig around on a 18-lane interstate of Cloud City,
So,
and they go pick up Luke.
I'm sitting here laughing because it's like, you cut off my fucking hand, and then, Anakin be like, bitch, this happened to me like several times. Get over it.
And then we have them standing, the iconic moment where Luke gets his robot hand and they're standing at the
big
big
window.
window. Yeah, I love the big window.
And Luke and Anakin are having a conversation using the Force from a long way away.
Yep.
It's iconic.
This movie, ranking it easy S.
S.
S
S rank.
plus. The most easy S of all time, which then brings us into 6.
Episode 6.
Also,
Although we know exactly shit.
what the hell's going on with you?
Drop my phone, sorry. Although we know exactly where Han is, we're gonna wait a while
Yep.
before we go and save him.
Yeah, he's stuck in a rock. He's never been more safe. So there's no rush.
They're just like, he'll be fine.
And that's when we find out somehow Leia got herself captured, probably trying to rescue Han, as Luke decides
Oh,
to.
remember, she shows up as that bounty hunter.
Oh, right.
She shows up as the bounty hunter with a grenade, a thermal grenade. She gets caught. And then, Jabba sticks her in that iconic outfit that we all know.
Yep.
And that turns out to be part of the plan, which, okay, I guess. Part of your plan was to get Leia caught? Okay.
Yeah, but then we get to watch Luke, who has not gained an ounce of intelligence, wearing a tight black boots and tight black pants and a tight black shirt, wearing a big woolen black cloak out in the middle of the desert. And he shows up, and they introduce us to our only second ever hole that leads somewhere by dropping him into the Rancor pit. And then he kills this poor man's pet with a rock.
Sarlacc pit.
Well, we haven't gotten to the Sarlacc pit yet. This is the second ever hole that leads to somewhere. It's the Rancor pit. And he kills that poor Rancor with a rock. And a gate.
Are you insinuating that the Rancor did nothing wrong?
No, it was just a guy. They were starving the guy. What was he gonna do? Not try to eat the only food they probably tossed down there in like 2-3 weeks?
Fair enough, I suppose.
This obviously pisses everybody off, so they try to march them to the they all get in the sail barge and the skiffs, and they head out to the third and only other hole that leads somewhere, the Sarlacc pit, where one of the greatest fight sequences of the entire history of Star Wars takes place.
And they never accurately described how Lando got into the position he was in on Jabba's party barge, but hey, we're willing to look over or ignore it.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. It was already happening. There wasn't time for questions. But oh yeah, they free Han. They get him unfrozen.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Before that.
Leia did that
Yeah.
back in Jabba's palace, but
But
Boba
during
Fett falls into the Sarlacc pit.
yep, and R2D2 fires off the lightsaber to Luke.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he fights his way through everybody, and Leia strangles Jabba to death with the chain that she was on.
They kind of gloss over the fact that that means Luke had to build an entirely new lightsaber.
Yep.
How did he do that? How did he gain the knowledge to do that?
Why did
When did he
choose
do that?
green?
When did he go and get a kyber crystal in order to make that lightsaber? Those are all questions to get answered in the extended lore, but no one really cared to think about it back then. And the reason why they went with green was because they couldn't get a blue lightsaber to actually show up against a blue sky. That's
awesome.
That's the actual filmological reason why they went with a green lightsaber for him in episode 6. Because the first time he would have used it would have been against, the backdrop of a blue sky. And they couldn't get it to work, right?
Yeah.
Or they made it green. Because prior to that, every other lightsaber was blue or red. So it was the slight inconvenience of a blue lightsaber not showing up on a blue sky that gave us green. And then the extended lore got their hands on it, and then there's like a dozen different saber colors now.
Yeah, they killed off, but yeah, in that fight they kill off their most iconic character because somebody poked him in the back and his rockets malfunctioned, which was just insane. And it's amazing because when you really consider the character of Boba Fett, what an absolute nothing burger they really give you. He shows up for a lineup when Darth Vader's trying to pick out bounty hunters. He makes some snide remarks in the next movie, and then in the movie after that, he just dies. But he's still so cool. And that's not sarcasm. He really is just so cool that he does 3 things in the entirety of Star Wars, and he just beloved by everybody immediately.
To quote Epic Rap Battles, he had 5 lines in the trilogy. One of them was a scream. And then it wasn't until Book of Boba Fett and then the extended lore that he went from, a kind of a joke that got killed by getting, backpack rocketed into a Sarlacc pit. Nah, he escaped the Sarlacc and went on to become kind of a badass. More so than he already was.
Let's see, after they blow up Jabba's party barge, and that goofy, weird little blue guy that whose only lines was the whole
Fucking
time.
Luke goes back to Dagobah to finish his training with Yoda.
Yeah, and then Yoda finally gets tired of doing nothing and being tired that he dies.
Yoda finally just succumbs to his old age and just dies.
He coughs a handful of times and he goes rah, 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 and then he drops dead. Luke tucks him in.
Basically confirms that, yeah, Anakin's your dad. Anakin is Darth Vader. Quit being a whiny little baby about it and go solve the problem.
Yep.
Yoda dies. Obi-Wan shows up as a Force ghost and says, "Oh, by the way, that chick that you straight up kissed a while ago, that's your sister."
Yeah. It's like, thanks, Uncle Obi-Wan. Yeah, you couldn't have told me that a while ago. That's dope.
So then fucking Luke leaves Dagobah for the last time. They learn that there's another Death Star being built and it's being directly supervised by Sidious / Palpatine. And then they go to Endor because, of course.
Yeah, had the big station that they needed to take out so that they could blow up the Death Star.
We finally get to meet the Ewoks, the little teddy bear fellas.
Which is the first instance that the Star Wars bands turned evil and turned their backs on Lucas and started a perpetual hate cycle that ruined the entire franchise.
They
Which
weren't even that bad to me. They were adorable little fellas.
I get why people were mad at him, but it's like, if you would have just not, it is one of those special little dominoes that if you guys would have just shut up and eaten your Ewoks, then you would not have gotten to the Jar Jar plot, which would have been epic if played out, uh, taken away, and then you would not have led to the point where George Lucas, on a verge of a Xanax overdose, decided to sell it to Disney so that they could completely destroy whatever was left. All you had to do was accept the Ewoks, and you guys couldn't do that.
So Luke and Han and Leia are on Endor fucking around with uh forest troopers and speeder bikes and fucking Ewoks, and we get one of the most iconic lines in the shit. "It's a trap,"
Yep.
with Admiral Akbar, big fish head fella.
Yeah. That kicks off another epic battle. Meanwhile, Luke makes his way onto the Death Star to
Well,
confront.
remember he got caught.
Oh, that's right.
Allegedly he allowed himself to get caught, and he has a conversation with his dad. A really awkward conversation with his dad.
Yeah.
"I see you have built a new lightsaber. Obi-Wan has taught you well." And then, because Vader is kind of a simp for the dark side, he has to put Luke in front of Palpatine, Sidious, whatever. And then they have a big fight.
It was a great fight. And
More realistic than the sequel or the prequel trilogies, because back then weren't nobody flipping around and shit.
yeah, and Luke goes into a absolute psycho rage and just uses his lightsaber like a hammer to force his dad's arm over the railing so it could get cut off for a third time that we know of in his life, so that his hand can go into the fourth ever hole that we know in the Star Wars universe that leads to somewhere. And then
He overpowers his dad, cuts his arm off again. Then he has this big old conversation, wherein Sidious is like, "Good, good. Let the hate flow through you." And then Luke reins that anger in and says, "No, I'll never be a Sith like you."
yeah, and then Darth
I'm
Vader
a
is inspired.
Jedi like my father for me.
Yeah, and then that inspires Darth Vader to show how physically strong he was by one arm picking up Palpatine while he's shooting lightning at him, and then tosses him into the hole, which somehow the nuclear reaction causes Palpatine to be so force charged that he rips himself into space and time and impregnates some desert hobo into making Rey.
It's worse than that. Like, Vader picks him up, yeets him over the edge. The one time there's a safety railing, by the way.
Yep.
Yeets him over the edge. We see, Daddy Palpy fall down the hole. We actually see him fall into the fusion core of Death Star 2. We see him hit it like a mosquito hits a bug zapper.
Yeah.
But somehow, 40 or so years later, somehow, ... Palpatine survived, ... No, that's just weak story writing.
But we did get a very nice, amazing, heartfelt moment between
Take off my mask.
Yep, Luke and Vader, and Luke.
I want to see you with my own eyes.
Yep, and then he dies. They drag him onto the ship, and he flies back to Endor just before Big Rig Butters drives the Millennium Falcon into the fusion core a second time, and they blow up the Death Star. And they have
they shoot it and fly out in a spectacular display of aeronautic, supremacy. And they blow up Death Star 2.
They go back to.
The chunks are raining down on Endor, definitely not killing people.
Yeah, they go back to Endor to have a party where the Ewoks are barbecuing stormtroopers. Luke tries to tell Leia what he discovers, but she just kind of dismisses him with an "I know." They properly give Vader his funeral, and he joins Obi-Wan and Yoda as Force ghosts, which was great. And
until Lucas remastered it and the Force Ghost that he turns into is Hayden Christensen, which, whatever.
Yeah.
Because back before it was, I think they got David Probst, but then they remastered it in the 2000s, and they made Hayden Christensen, or they remastered it in the 2010s. And it's a young Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost Anakin, and you're like, hey, wait a minute. If Force Ghosts can take on the age, whatever age they want, why is it old Ben Kenobi?
We don't want to go down that road. We don't want to give them ideas. Let's just let them do what they're doing.
Fair enough, I guess. So everyone's having a party while, meteoric chunks of Death Star 2 are raining to the ground.
Yep, and this...
There's fireworks, and the Ewoks are playing music, and they're all dancing, and then they burn. They give a Viking funeral to Anakin.
And as gets pointed out in the hit movie Clerks 2, this actually proves that the rebels are the villains in this episode, because if you really think about it, there is no top brass besides Palpatine and Vader. The only people that they blew up on that Death Star were contractors. Those were
contractors and what little part of the Imperial Army was there to fire the gun. So I get the point, but
well, I mean, those guys it didn't need to be that. It didn't need to be like that.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's where the story ends.
Yep. Nothing ever came out after that, which is crazy that we've gone. Let's see. I know
the Empire is fallen. The Empire is no more. The Galactic Senate is back in control, and nothing ever happened again. The First Order didn't exist.
No, the only thing that came out for Star Wars after that was in, December 16th of 2016 when Rogue One came out, and then they stopped making Star Wars movies.
And they started making Star Wars TV shows like The Mandalorian and Andor, and
Yeah.
no other Star Wars movie got made. It was great,
Yeah,
right?
and I know that we said that we would never use AI on the show, and I apologize that we did, but I couldn't find any other images. These three posters for 7 through 9 are actually just AI mashups of fan posters. I couldn't find an image without them, but that's why those three are down there. They never got made. We're hoping that they do get made one day. George Lucas will buy the company back and make them after Disney's done making their TV shows, and everything will be all right.
Maybe, just maybe, in the intervening decade or so, Lucas will have sat down and figured out how to write appropriate dialogue, and then we
Maybe.
could actually have, a good sequel trilogy, wherein, Luke doesn't betray his entire code of ethics that he learns in episodes 5 and 6 by just absolutely just not following his own shit.
But we need to rank episode 6. Easy
Yes.
S. Yeah, easy S. That leaves 3, 5, and 6 as our only S's. Uh, we have episode 1 at a firm B. We have Rogue One at a firm C plus, and 4 is an A.
I
With
guess I
episode
guess your I guess your A balances out my C on episode 2, so you want to make it a B?
episode 2 also in B. I think that's an appropriate ranking. So just one more time, in C tier we have Rogue One. In B tier we have episodes 1 and 2. In A tier we have episode 4, and then in S tier we have 3, 5, and 6, which I think is a solid ranking.
It's pretty solid.
But now we have the hard part, Trucker. We like to end these things by suggesting a band and or song, but now we got to do 7 of these, so we'll start off with you, I think.
All right. I think I'll go for the obvious choice. One moment. I get into my music catalog right quick. Williams and Boston Pops. No, that ain't it. We're gonna go with what is forever and will for always remain colloquially known as the main title theme of Star Wars. The music that plays during the opening scroll. Na na na. By
Awesome.
John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra.
All right, I'll do something less less thematic. Scream of the Butterfly by Acid Bath.
Nice.
All right, that's one apiece. We have 6 more to do. You're up.
I'm going to go with the Imperial March remix by Cell Dweller.
I will go with This Love by Pantera.
Ooh. Floods by Pantera.
Okay. My third one. Let me. I used to have a better list here, but well, I guess I could just hit it with the refresh here. Let's see what I can get. Oh, this is a better list. Here we go. I've got sorry about that. I cannot. My list is bad. My list has gone to hell. Oh, we'll just go with The Master's Call by Marty Robbins.
Not bad, not bad. Uh, The Heaviest Matter in the Universe by Gojira.
All right. Bittersweet Symphony by the Verve,
I was gonna say, which version are you going with?
the correct one.
I'll go with No One Lives Forever by Oingo Boingo.
That's awesome. You know what? This is weirdly thematically correct in the sense that it adds a layer of imagination. But we'll go with for my fifth one. We'll do Africa by Toto. We
I'm
got two
on
more. We gotta make it. We gotta make it
six,
count.
right? All right. Fishing for Chickens by Seamus Kennedy.
I've not heard of that one. That's funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Okay, if you're gonna do a funny one, I'll do a funny one. Oh no, why did I blank? Convoy by C.W. McCall. One more. Let's make it count.
Let's see. Let's go with Carpe Nocturne by Tiesto.
You'll have to send
That's
me that
pretty
one. That
good.
sounds awesome. Uh, Here's one that is actually thematically correct because Alderaan is directly referenced in it. Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Nice.
Well, we are at 2 hours and 23 minutes. I hope that we don't get cooked alive for this one, but
Oh, it'll be great.
we love the movies. We have very niche criticisms because we're both mildly autistic, so. Let us know what you think of our song suggestions. That was 14 whole songs for you to go listen to.
That's
And
one. That's one schizophrenic album.
yeah, it is. There's
It bounces around a lot.
yeah, yeah, it's a little bit messed up, honestly. But I think that's a great place to end this one. Adios.
Bye, everybody.